Salahuddin ends up in a battle called Montgisard. It's a catastrophe. The new king is a guy named Baldwin III. When Amalric dies, his son takes over from his first marriage. Baldwin has leprosy, and he takes over the throne dying. He's melting. He's not really in pain because one of the things that happens with leprosy is your nerve endings in your skin basically go away. In Aleppo, Salah takes over the city after his dad had died. 2 years later, he let Renaud de Chatillon go. So Renaud had been in prison for 16 years. The Butcher of Cyprus, that guy, he's loose. Next year, after he's been free, after taking over Kerak, he joins the army, the Crusader army. They're gonna fight Salahuddin at Montgisard. And when they go to Montgisard, Baldwin handed command over to Renaud, and Renaud comes up with a plan and defeats Salahuddin. But it was really rare. And so Renaud was back. Salahuddin does manage to take Aleppo, and then he makes a deal with Baldwin IV. Here's the deal. He will not try to take Jerusalem. He will leave the kingdom of Jerusalem intact. He's not even going to mess with the other two Crusader states. And then in return, Baldwin will stop messing with his territories. Salahuddin has merged Egypt into Syria. It's one state now. It completely surrounded the Crusader states on all sides. Baldwin goes, you know what, let's do it. And they make a treaty, ending the struggle between Muslim and Christian. And they set up these plans for how Muslims can now visit Jerusalem, and when Christians are traveling through Muslim lands, they will be protected. It's over. Peace has been struck. Well, except for Renaud de Chatillon. That guy can't stop raiding. He attacks Muslim caravans every chance he gets. He massacres them. It's a mess. And every time he does, Salahuddin goes back to Baldwin IV and goes, we have a deal. And Baldwin's like, I don't know how to rein this guy in. In the meantime, Baldwin's sister, Sibylla, marries a guy named Guy de Lusignan. Guy de Lusignan was a bully, but a dummy. He's just not smart. Renaud was maybe evil, but he was at least smart. He could design victories and lead them against Salahuddin. Salahuddin starts to get really annoyed. Salahuddin shows up with the whole army. He's gonna just take Renaud de Chatillon out. When he shows up, he's launching using mangonels. So they're launching rocks against the fortress, smashing the place up. Renaud sends a messenger, and the messenger says, we're actually having a wedding. Salahuddin, if you wouldn't mind, can you take it easy on this sector? And they're getting married while a siege is taking place. Salahuddin goes, okay, show me the exact spot. They work it out. They stop firing rocks in that area, not only so that they can complete the wedding, but so they can also do their little honeymoon afterwards. Baldwin shows up with his army. Baldwin promises to punish Renaud. That appeases Salahuddin, and they're done. Renaud continues the raiding. So finally, Salahuddin goes, I'm done. This Crusader state thing can't work. Baldwin can't reign in his people. Manuel dies 1180. When he dies, the Romans dissolve into chaos. So Rome's out of the picture completely at this point. And so at this point, Salahuddin's like, I don't have to worry about Rome. I own Egypt and Syria. This is working out really well. So Baldwin IV, finally, the leprosy gets to him. He dies. Sibylla's son, his nephew, becomes Baldwin V at age 5. This is not going to work. Sibylla now, with Guy de Lusignan running the kingdom. Baldwin V dies at like age 8, which is the next year. So they lost 2 kings in 2 years. And so Sibylla and Guy de Lusignan take over directly. Renaud continues the raiding. At that point, Salahuddin has decided he's finishing off the Crusader state. There's a guy named Raymond III, Count of Tripoli. His wife owns Tiberias. So Salahuddin pulls up to Tiberias and he besieges it, and he's going to take the city. So the Crusaders decide they have to lift the siege. In front of Tiberias, on one side is the Sea of Galilee, which is a freshwater lake, really amazing to have there. On the other side is this open desert plain. There's a volcano with 2 horns, and that spot's called Hattin. So that's Salahuddin's idea. He doesn't want to take Tiberias. They actually could have taken it at any moment. So he tells his men, no, we're going to keep it under siege. We're going to keep the pressure on it, but don't take it. I know it's ready to collapse. Just leave it there. We'll even send them supplies if we have to keep them from falling. Because he wants to lure the Crusader army into a trap. The Crusaders, leadership of Guy de Lusignan, decide to cut through the desert across the plain. They don't have water. They're thinking when they get to the Sea of Galilee, they'll drink. Salahuddin lifts the siege on Tiberias, parks his army in the plain, in between them and the Sea of Galilee. They now have to fight, exhausted, thirsty. All the Arabs have to do is just hold their position, and that's what they do. And it's a massacre. The Battle of Hattin ends in Salahuddin's victory. Salahuddin has Guy de Lusignan brought to his tent, and Reynald de Chatillon, he has ice brought to the tent. What the Arabs would do is they go into the mountain, or even in the summer, there's still some ice, and they chop out blocks of ice, and then he used it to keep food fresh. Salahuddin has ice brought, and then he takes a chalice of ice and he hands it to Guy de Lusignan. Guy takes a sip and hands it to Reynald. Salahuddin goes, I didn't give you the ice. And Reynald goes, that's correct, Your Highness, you didn't give it to me. And Salahuddin goes, in my culture, you have to treat your guest well, but you're not my guest, because I didn't give you the ice. He did. And Reynald goes, that's true, Your Majesty. Salahuddin takes a sword and guts him right there, cuts his head off, drags him across the ground, and parks him in front of Guy de Lusignan and goes, don't worry, I'm not going to harm you. And that's how Reynald de Chatillon finally went down. Now, the only thing left to do is go take Jerusalem itself. So the army then heads to Jerusalem. Most of the Crusaders were defeated at Hattin. Arab armies were democratic. Yes, Salahuddin is the general. Once combat is invested, he makes all the decisions. Nobody can second guess him. But in between combat, the soldiers can vote on things and make demands. The soldiers wanted to massacre all the Crusaders at Hattin, so they had voted for them. Salahuddin got up in front of them. He's like, no, we're not those people. We don't massacre everybody. When they're defeated, a bunch of them are going to be wounded and surrender. We're going to heal the wounded and we're going to let them go. And they're like, no, we don't want to fight them ever again. If we let them go, we're just going to have to fight them later. And Salahuddin goes, I don't care. We're not massacrers. They are. They do this. We don't. They vote. They vote only to massacre the Knights Templars and the Knights Hospitallers. So the Knights Templars and Hospitallers were monastic orders that went into combat, and they were like the richest rapists the world has ever seen. They just plundered, raped, murdered everywhere they went. They had a big cross on their chest just to make sure you knew they were a Christian, and killing you, raping you, and stealing your stuff. So they voted, okay, we're gonna get rid of those guys. We'll let the whole rest of the army go. So Salahuddin goes, fine. So Salahuddin had men who spoke Latin walk up and down the line of Hospitallers and Templars and say to them, we can't execute Muslims. We can't execute Muslims. We can't execute Muslims. Yeah, they have to do it in Latin, right? Because some of them speak French, some of them speak German, some of them speak Hungarian. So they just need a language that everybody can at least figure this out. A quarter, a third of those Templars and Hospitallers, these fanatic Christians, walk up to the executioner and then become Muslim. They say the two phrases you need to just become Muslims, and they're like, all right, fine, get out of line. But then there were a group of guys who weren't Templars and Hospitallers. They were just clearly normal Crusaders. They walked up and they said they were. And the executioner's like, that means we have to kill you. No, you don't want to be. It's obvious you're not. You're not dressed like one. They go, no, we are. And the executioners go, I don't get it. You want us to execute you? And they're like, yes, because if you kill us here now, we go straight to heaven. We get to hang out with Jesus for all eternity. And the executioner's like, dude, no, get out of the line. You're not a Templar. Because right in the meantime, a bunch of Templars are like, yeah, I'm a Muslim. You can't kill me. And then they went and became Mamluk. They actually joined the Mamluk, so they've actually switched sides. So the army then heads to Jerusalem. They get to Jerusalem. Who does Salahuddin see? Balian of Ibelin. Balian of Ibelin is heading to Jerusalem, but the problem is the Arab army is in between him and Jerusalem. So Balian approaches Salahuddin. They know each other, and Balian goes, so my wife, grandniece of the former emperor who's now dead, is in Jerusalem. I'm here to get her. And Salahuddin goes, okay, fine. I'll let you into the city, but you have to promise you will not fight us, and you won't do anything but go in there, get your wife, and come out. He goes into the city. When people see him, they go, we don't have any leaders. There's nobody running the city. Everybody was at Hattin. They go to Balian and go, you need to take command of the city to defend us. Balian goes, okay, I'll be right back. He leaves the city. He goes back to Salahuddin. He goes, look, they're begging me to take command of the city. I swore I wouldn't do anything, but would you let me do this anyway? Salahuddin goes, okay, you have your oath to me, but your duty to your people. And Balian goes, yeah. And so you're asking me to release you from your oath. And Balian goes, I take my oath very seriously. So if you tell me no, I go get my wife and I leave. And Salahuddin goes, okay, I release you from your oath. Go take over the city and prepare its defenses. I'm going to attack tomorrow. So there he goes in, takes over the defenses. He puts up a fight. So here we are. It's Jerusalem. This brutal siege is happening. Finally, the Muslims manage to break a hole in the wall. There's fighting in the breach that lasts for days. Balian comes out. He goes, we're done. We're out of food. We're exhausted. We don't have many people left, honestly. The fight can't go on. Salahuddin goes, okay, let's talk to her. Salahuddin actually at one point had decided he was going to take the city by force no matter what. So Balian says, look, if you don't let us surrender, we're going to destroy Jerusalem. We're going to burn everything. Everything you find sacred, we're going to wreck it. We're going to tear down Al-Aqsa Mosque. We're going to destroy everything. The Dome of the Rock. We'll leave none of your mosques, none of your holy places. Salahuddin goes, those are your holy places too. And Balian's like, I will destroy our holy places. I will destroy the Jewish holy places, the Christian holy places, the Muslim holy places. The Salahuddin goes, okay, here are my terms. My army has already voted to enslave some of you. I talked them into a price for their freedom. If you can come up with X amount of money, we'll let you guys go. That way nobody gets enslaved. The army comes out, then Salahuddin goes, you know what? The elderly don't have to pay. And like he keeps exempting groups. Okay, children don't have to pay. A bunch of them didn't have any money, so Salahuddin goes into his tent, he pulls what was left of his coffers, and he dumps it on the ground and buys a bunch of the Crusaders and then frees them. Some of his generals are standing there, they feel really embarrassed. They go get their coffers and free a few more. And so in this way, Balian got to lead the entire Crusader population out of Jerusalem. Salahuddin said, anytime you guys want to come visit, you're always welcome. This city's gates will always be open to you. Balian was like, yeah, thanks, that's really cool. And they head towards Tyre.